In a discount warehouse, a hi-fi is priced at £256. The customer is entitled to a 10% discount, but must pay 15% VAT. Does it make any difference whether the discount is subtracted before or after the VAT is added?
Here's the problem then. Which one of these would you buy? On this one, the VAT is added first, then you subtract the discount, whereas on this one, the discount's subtracted first, and then the VAT is added. Perhaps this one is the better buy. You're taking a discount of a larger sum, so you're getting more discount. Perhaps the other offer, though, is better. Or perhaps it doesn't matter. But before we can even begin to answer this question, we need to be sure that we know what we mean by percentages. Let's just step back. Percent simply means so many hundredths. It's just another way of talking about a fraction. Look at this. I've got a cake here, and at the moment I've got 100% of it. 100 hundredths, it's all there. 100% equals 100 hundredths equals 1. Now, if I cut it in half, I've got 50%. 50 hundredths or 0.5. 50% equals 50 hundredths equals 0.5. And if I cut it in half again, I'm left with a quarter, or 25%, or 25 hundredths. 25% equals 25 hundredths equals 0.25. Now, I can do the same thing with this larger cake. 50% of it and then 25%. And notice that 25% of this cake is a lot larger than 25% of this one. So it's very important with percentages to know percentage of what. Percentage on its own is just a fraction. But of course, we can calculate with percentages in the same way as we can calculate with fractions. I know, for example, that this cake weighed 1,500 grams. Suppose I wanted to know the weight of a 10% piece. What I need to do is to work out 10% of 1,500 grams. And I can calculate that like this. 10% of 1,500 grams equals 10 hundredths of 1,500 grams, which equals 10 over 100 times 1,500 grams, which equals 0.1 times 1,500 grams, which equals 150 grams. And notice in that calculation that I replaced the word of in language with the mathematical symbol multiply. Now this is a language link. The word of usually does mean multiply in mathematics. So, to find a percentage of anything, we simply take so many hundredths and multiply. 50% of is 50 hundredths times, or 0.5 times. 27% of is 27 hundredths times, or 0.27 times. And 8% of is 8 hundredths times, or 0.08 times. So, let's look at our original problem. Essentially, it's about calculating discounts, adding VAT. Both of them normally expressed as percentages. Let's look at this one first, calculate the final price. The discount of 10% is taken off first, so 10% of £256 is 10 hundredths of £256, which is £25.60. We must subtract that to find the price after discount. That leaves us with £230.40. Now we calculate the VAT. VAT is 15% of £230.40, the discount price. That's 15 hundredths times £230.40, which is £34.56. And that is added to give the total price of £264.96. So let's mark that one like that. The total price with a discount first is £264.96. Now, we've got to do a similar calculation for this one, but calculating VAT first. VAT is 15%, so we want 15% of £256. That's 15 hundredths times £256. That's £38.40. We add that to give a price plus VAT of £294.40. Now we calculate the discount. We want 10% of £294.40, which is 10 hundredths times £294.40, which is £29.44. Now, subtracting the discount gives a total price, if you add VAT first, of £264.96. So, they're both the same. It makes no difference whether we add VAT, then take the discount, or discount first, then add the VAT. Well, that's interesting and maybe even a bit surprising. And you might now guess that it'll work out whichever the original price was. But notice that all we've done is to demonstrate that it works for that specific price, £256. We haven't proved it for any other price. Let's think for a moment what we actually did in that calculation. The first step was to calculate the discount, 10%, and then subtract it from the price. It's pretty obvious, really, that subtracting 10 hundredths must leave you with 90 hundredths. So instead of calculating the discount and then subtracting, we could find the discount price in one go, just by finding 90% or 90 hundredths of the initial price. And by the same method, we can do the VAT calculation in one go as well. Here, we want to add 15 hundredths to the price. The full price, again, is 100 hundredths, so adding 15 hundredths must give 115 hundredths. So, how does that help our proof? Well, let's write down what we did in our original calculation. To calculate the discount first and then add the VAT, we did this. £256 times 90 hundredths, that's the discount, times 115 hundredths, that's the VAT. And to do it the other way, we did this. £256 times 115 hundredths times 90 hundredths. And clearly these are both the same. And now we know why it works, and we can just use the rule. Percentages can be combined in any order because you can multiply in any order. Of course, it's more usual for hi-fis to be sold at a price which includes VAT, and this raises the problem of how much VAT is being charged. Suppose another hi-fi is on sale for £100, including VAT at 15%. How much VAT would you be paying? Well, if you think this problem's easy, you've probably got it wrong. The important question here is 15% of what? You may have thought that the VAT is £15 because 15% of £100 is just £15, but that's not right. The £100 that you were charged is made up of the value of the hi-fi, let's call it X for the moment because we don't know what it is, plus the VAT, which is 15% of X. Now, using this information, we can write down an equation like this. The value plus the VAT must come to £100. So X plus 15 hundredths X equals 100. Or 1.15X is 100, so X is 100 divided by 1.15. That's £86.96. So the value of the hi-fi is £86.96, and the VAT is £13.04 to give our total of £100. I just want to finish with a little cautionary tale, and it's about VAT again. In 1979, VAT went up from 8% to 15%. So the prices had to be recalculated, and most shopkeepers had a little calculator by the till. And because VAT had gone up 7%, they just added 7% to all their prices. Now, suppose an item cost £100 when VAT was 8%, so this price includes the 8% VAT. What the shopkeeper charged was £100 plus 7%, so he charged £107. Now, was that right? Well, I'm sure that having watched this programme, you'll be suspicious. The £100 included the VAT, and so the value of the article is unknown. Let's just call it X. Now, what do we know? The value plus VAT is £100, so X plus 8 hundredths of x is £100, or 1.08x equals 100. So x is 100 over 1.08, or £92.59. Now that we know the value of the article, we can calculate the VAT at 15%. 15 hundredths of £92.59 is £13.89. So the total new price should be £92.59 plus £13.89. That's £106.48. But remember, the shopkeepers were charging non-mathematical customers £107, but they should have been charging £106.48. So on every £100 worth of goods sold, they were making 52 pence. Well, let's just recap. There are 4 things. First of all, percentages are just so many hundredths. Percentage of means so many hundredths times. It doesn't matter which order you take percentages in, but it does matter, it's of crucial importance, what you take a percentage of.